Represents House District 39 down at the state capitol. That's south of Denver, not quite down into Colorado Springs, but think the areas around Castle Rock, south of Highlands Ranch, kind of the more rural Douglas County areas. That's Brandi Bradley. And she's already introducing bills. She's fighting the bad ones being introduced by the Democrats. And yesterday announced she's running for re-election. She joins us this morning. Good morning, Representative Bradley. Thank you for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Always awesome to be on with you.
So much to talk about. Give us an update on the state capitol. Tell us first about the bill you're running. You got a Second Amendment bill, but then also some of the craziness that the Democrats have already unleashed.
Well, I mean, I think we're going to see the attack on landlords, small businesses, parents. It's the same thing. Just, it's like Groundhog Day, I feel like.
I'm amazed you can handle it, to be honest
I'm amazed I can handle it.
I mean, they don't seem to learn anything. I've seen bills already with regards to transgenderism and parents' rights. Give us some of the details on that.
Oh, yeah, it's bringing back the whole name change again, right? We're going to let kids change their name, and then if you aren't willing to accommodate that, it's going to be used against you in a court of law.
So the stuff you guys were able to kind of pull out of last year's bill, they're just bringing right back this year.
Well, yeah, and you know what? We have the troops assembled. Somebody said it perfectly. They thought that nothing could unify lesbians, feminists, the gay community, the conservatives. Well, they're doing it, and we are a troop, and we are not backing down. If anything, we have more fight in us than we ever have before.
And you've been introducing some good bills. Let's talk about Second Amendment Protection Act.
Oh, no, cell phone problems.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we got you now. There we go.
Okay, I won't move. I will stand. This is what happens in rural Colorado, right? I was just saying that I'm so excited about the Second Amendment protection bill. I think that we have seen Democrats strip away right after right after right when it comes to the Second Amendment. I would say even the First Amendment. And Representative Max Brooks and Senators Baisley and Zamora Wilson were excited to co-sponsor and co-prime this bill, and so we're off to the races.
Give us a sense of what the bill does and how it protects our Second Amendment rights.
So we're repealing every gun bill that they have brought forward, or anti-gun bill, I should say, that they have brought forward to strip us of our constitutional right to keep and bear arms. And we have listed all of those out: 3-day waiting period, background checks on the private transfer of firearms, you name it, it's in this bill. We are going to battle. We believe that it's our constitutional right to keep and bear arms, and they continue to try to strip that constitutional right. So good messaging bill to put out there. Hopefully we'll get some Democrats in their right, sane mind to vote for it.
Now, Brandi Bradley got a question about the idea of using it as, this is the incorrect term, but more or less an omnibus approach to repealing all of those bills. Do you think, now let's just, for the sake of the conversation, let's assume it passes, and of course we would anticipate some legal challenges. Do you think that lumping all of them together strengthens a potential legal challenge, or could make it more difficult to face up to a legal challenge?
Well, we've talked to all the Second Amendment gun rights lawyers, and they have looked at this bill and said that this will not harm any type of lawsuit that they have in the future. So we were very cognizant of getting the good gun lobbyists on board, and everyone seems to be on the same page.
That's Brandi Bradley. She represents Douglas County down at the Colorado State Capitol. Representative Bradley, talk to us about the divisions within the Democrat Party. We often hear that there's a wing, or now it may even be a majority, of Democrats that are embracing socialism, and the real battle down there is between the socialists and moderate Democrats. Are you seeing that play out yet in the first few weeks of the legislative session?
Well, I think we saw it over the summer, right? I mean, there were Democrats that filed ethics charges against the Opportunity Caucus. They're the ones that brought that forward. And I think that there's a lot of conflict. There's been some, I've heard money problems in the caucus with somebody taking money that shouldn't have taken money. So there is a lot of conflict in the Democrat caucus right now that we're seeing. And I don't believe the socialists are ruling the Capitol. I think the moderates are sick and tired of the games that the Democrat socialists are playing.
How are things with the Republicans? Are you seeing unity on the Republican side?
I think it's too early to tell. I think that we are a little bit more unified this year than we were last year. I think that we have a little bit better, stronger leadership coming forward. I think our party is a mess, too. I think it's on both sides, and that's why I fight for my constituents, and I fight for the values that I go to the Capitol, and I'm not going to get involved in party politics.
What are you hearing from your constituents? What are some of the top issues they want you working on?
Oh, Second Amendment for sure, but people don't feel safe in our state. We're ranked one of the highest, most violent states. We're number one for auto and property theft, 4 for rape, 10th highest for trafficking. We're not putting criminals in jail, and my constituents are sick of it because in Douglas County, we're seeing the flow of crime from Denver come into my county. We have, a carjacking that killed 4 people in my district. We're having shootings, constantly from carjackings that are happening in other counties. And the people of Douglas County are tired of it. At least we have a DA and a sheriff that will arrest and prosecute these crimes. Thank God we do.
And we're hearing challenges. I mean, here's part of the problem that law enforcement is facing. It's this patchwork of sanctuary policies where if you're local law enforcement, we talked about this yesterday on the show, and you end up on a text message thread with feds from the wrong agency, you could be sued in your own personal capacity, right? So the DEA, for instance, is trying to deal with the fact that we have a rash of fentanyl coming into Colorado. Colorado is so bad that basically 10% of all of the fentanyl coming into America is being captured here in Colorado. But if you're a sheriff's deputy and you're working with DEA, but ICE happens to be on that text message thread, well, then Phil Weiser is going to show up, knock on your front door, and sue you in your own personal capacity. So these sanctuary policies are creating all this chaos, all this frustration. And you know who's taking advantage of it? Cartels. Because they can. And they're even saying so. They're telling the DEA, well, it's basically your sanctuary policies that allow us to operate here. And then you have Darren Weakley, who's got 80% of the people in his jail aren't even from Douglas County. So it's created a real problem. And you're hearing that directly from constituents that they want this addressed, Brandi, Bradley?
Absolutely. We had one of the biggest fentanyl drug busts a mile from my house in Douglas County because our sheriffs are doing the due diligence of what the people want. We want to be safe. We want to be able to afford our homes and our property taxes and be able to go to the grocery store and buy groceries for our children. And the Democrat policies are just skyrocketing all of it. They're making it unaffordable to live in our state. They're making it too much crime to live in our state. And they're stripping away our Second Amendment rights to protect ourselves when we're one of the highest violent crime states in the U.S.
That's Brandi Bradley. She represents portions of rural Douglas County down at the Colorado State Capitol. Now, speaking of Highlands Ranch, Douglas County, there's been a shift happening in Highlands Ranch. It's gotten a lot bluer. I've written about this. You had a 20-point swing in a decade between 2012 and 2022 in Douglas County. Talk to us about that change. What's driving that? Is it affecting your district? Highlands Ranch is represented by a Democrat down at the state capitol. How do you keep Douglas County from going blue?
Well, I think we have to get the churches involved. I think Republicans are good about being keyboard warriors, but not getting up and going to vote. They don't believe in election integrity. I understand that problem. We are trying to fix the voter rolls. We're trying to fix the election integrity problems. I voted against certify the election last year because I don't believe our elections are safe. I think Tina Peters should be freed. There's so many things that I think Republicans just feel like it's a lost cause. Well, it's not a lost cause. I believe that Douglas County will stay red, but I think we have to get people involved and off their couches.
That's Brandi Bradley. She represents portions of Douglas County, mostly the rural, down at the Colorado State Capitol. I want to ask you about your thoughts. You saw the video, speaking of churches, of those protesters going into the churches in Minnesota. How did that make you feel when you saw that?
Oh, I think it's ridiculous, but I think Democrats have always tried to stand for free speech. You know, we heard it with the MLK resolution, free speech, until they silence us with, Rule 14 and 16, which shuts down debate, which not allows us to speak for 45% of the people we represent. Remember, 45% are Republicans in our state. It's not like 10%. And so when you go in and shut off the right to assemble, but our governor did the same thing. He shut down the churches in our state and let liquor stores and strip clubs stay open. They don't understand the First Amendment. They certainly don't understand the Second Amendment. We're going to make sure they do this session.
That's Brandi Bradley, state representative, joining Jeff and Bill live, talking about the new legislative session and other topics of the day. Now, Brandi, I want to know about, do you see, based on anything that the Democrats are proposing, that there might be a way to work with them on this one little avenue? And conversely, do you think there's something that yourself or the Republicans are proposing that you think some of those moderate Democrats are persuadable and you can get them on board? What do we see in the future for this session as far as bipartisan legislation?
Oh, absolutely. We're bringing our child rape bill back. It's going to start in the Senate. You know that Rep. English from El Paso County, moderate Democrat, is on that. I do believe that there are moderate Democrats that want to protect children, that want to make Colorado safer, and they're willing to work on the opposite side of the aisle. I think that we obviously can work with the opposite side of the aisle, but it's got to be to make Colorado safer, more affordable, and bring children's rights forward, or parental rights forward, so that we can protect kids and not allow things to happen to them as well. I certainly believe that we can work across the aisle. I have great relationships with Democrats, no matter what the media likes to publicize. I have a lot of respect from the other side of the aisle, and I believe that we can work together on things like that.
Yeah, I think that, again, I don't know if I would ever have the ability to stomach going down there and having to work at the legislature like you do. But because I might just start yelling at people. It would not be good. Not be in the
I
news.
do that, Bill. I do that. Have you watched my speeches? I do that.
I have seen that. That's great. And that's why we love you so much. And so this is the thing. Is I'm wondering if there is any sort of hay to be made for Republicans. And what I'm coming back to is the statement that the Republicans inside the legislature do represent 45% of the population of the state, and chatting with those moderate Democrats, coming to them and saying, you understand that some of these wild, very left socialist style issues that some of your party is proposing go so far against what the majority of Coloradans feel, and that is regardless of party, because it's not just Republicans and Democrats, it's also unaffiliated, that these things are so far out of bounds. Not only do they not pass the sniff test, but do y'all understand that you're just going to make it easier for Republicans to get elected? The idea of maybe self-preservation coming into play, and talking to the Democrats and saying, listen, if you guys don't want to be labeled as these crazy socialist, activists here in town, and you don't want to appear like, and again, favorite guy of the show recently, that liberal farmer that yelled at people at the Minneapolis church,
Yes.
Someone like that, if you don't want to be associated with people like that, that maybe you need to show some legislation that is closer to the middle of the road in Colorado, and it is going to be a manner of self-preservation. Do you think any of that message is going to work inside of the Golden Dome?
Well, I think for some, absolutely, Bill, but you have some very narcissistic legislators. I mean, they have stacked the deck on judiciary, which is where they send a lot of Republican, or I would say bipartisan bills. You've got Representatives Lorena Garcia, Yara Zokai, Javier Mabry, Michael Carter, Jennifer Bacon. They all sit on judiciary. Those are all the socialists making the rules of how we change laws when it relates to crime and public safety. So how do you get anything out of a committee like that? If the majority leader really wanted to propose some good legislation other than her bills that just fly through, then she wouldn't have stacked judiciary with all the socialists in her party.
That's Brandi Bradley. She serves Douglas County down at the Colorado State Capitol. Now, Representative Bradley, I want to ask you about Deborah Mulvaney. She sits on the City of Castle Pines City Council, and she's launched a primary challenge against you. Why are you better to serve the people of House District 39?
Oh, because I'm not bought and paid for by the lobby corps. I represent my constituents. I don't represent lobbyists. I fight for them every day. And if anyone has any question about that, look over the last 4 months of my life fighting for my child to live. I mean, if if they know me, they know I'm going to fight for their liberty, for their small businesses, for their Second Amendment, for all the things that we constitutionally stand for. I'm not going to back down to any lobby corps.
You announced your reelection last night on X. Tell us why you want to stay in the fight.
You know, Jess, I questioned it, to be quite honest with you. We've had a lot of personal issues in my family, and I think it would be easy just to back down and say, you know what, I'm not going to go up there. I don't have the stomach for it. I don't want to do it. But I believe in our state. I believe in our constitutional values, and I believe our state is going to turn more red and get more centrist. I believe in it wholeheartedly, and if I didn't, I wouldn't do it. But I will tell you, it took a couple long walks on the beach talking to God and asking him why he's put me in this. But I believe my husband said it best. You have the greatest voice. You fight so hard for children. You fight so hard for our personal liberties. You need to go. You need to go back.
You know, Representative Bradley, I talk about this in speeches I give with regards to Republicans and conservatives in a blue state like Colorado facing such anti-Christian hostility that we have to, where we're constantly having to go to the U.S. Supreme Court. And I just remind people that nobody is written about in the Bible because everything was amazing. They lived a wonderful life and then died. Everybody described in the Bible, the great heroes of the faith, all had major challenges that they were facing. They relied upon God. God carried them through. They stayed committed to their values, and that's why they're the heroes of the faith. So that's my encouragement to you, Representative Bradley. Continue the fight ahead. We appreciate everything you do to represent your constituents, to stand for good conservative Christian values down at the state capitol, and for taking time to join the Jeff and Bill show this morning.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, God bless you guys. I love being on. Thanks so much for having me.
That's Representative Brandi Bradley. You can follow her on X, and I had it up here just a second ago. Rep